Good morning, friends. In the continuation of the series about anatomy of ear, we are going to talk about again middle ear only, but this time we are going to talk about the different contents of the middle ear and ear ossicles. Previously, we have completed the topic till boundaries part. The first part which we have to understand here is mastoid area. Mastoid area, we have talked that it was near to the posterior wall of the middle ear. So this is posterior to the epitympanic recess, means the part which was above to the tympanic membrane of the middle ear is the adductus to mastoid antrum, which is the opening to mastoid antrum. Adductus means actually pathway. This is a pathway which connects to the mastoid antrum or the part which contains the cells. What is mastoid antrum actually? The mastoid antrum is a cavity continuous with the connection of air-filled spaces, that is, which contains the mastoid cells throughout the mastoid part of temporal bone, including the mastoid process. The mastoid antrum is separated from middle canal fossa above by only a thin tegment tympani, which we have already seen during the seeing the roof of the middle ear. The mucous membrane lining the mastoid ears is continuous with the mucous membrane throughout the middle ear. Therefore, the infection in the middle ear can easily be spread out in the mastoid area also. So if there is some infection in the middle ear, it can go to the mastoid area through the adductus to mastoid antrum. You can see a diagram. This particular area was tympanic cavity. Above to it, it was epitympanic region. And there is direct continuity with the mastoid area or mastoid air cells through the adductus to mastoid antrum. This whole process is called mastoid process. So if somebody wants, or there is some infection in this particular area and you have to reach to the middle ear, you can just put an incision over mastoid bone and you can directly enter into the medial ear. Then next, second part which is more important is pharyngotympanic tube, or more commonly called as Eustachian tube. The pharyngotympanic tube connects the middle ear with the nasopharynx and equalizes the pressure on both the sides of tympanic membrane. It is the opening in middle ear on the anterior wall, as previously talked, we have seen, and from here it extends forward, medially and downward, FMD, to enter the nasopharynx just posterior to the inferior meatus of nasal cavity. There are three meatus in the nasal cavities. Among them, on the inferior meatus only it is going to get open. So this also has two parts like the EAM, a bony part which is 1/3 nearest to the middle ear, and cartilaginous part the remaining 2/3. So you can see it is just opposite to the EM. There it was 1/3 and 2/3 cartilaginous was bone. Here it is 1/3 is bony part and cartilaginous is remaining 2/3 part. The opening in the bony part is clearly visible on the inferior surface of skull at the junction of squamous and petrous part of temporal bone, immediately posterior to the foramen ovale and foramen spinosum. So if you want to see this opening, you can clearly see it just below to the foramen ovale and foramen spinosum in the skull part. So this was about the pharyngotympanic tube. So this is a tube starting from the anterior wall. It is directly continuous with the nasopharynx. Medial 1/3 part is bony, lateral 2/3 part is cartilaginous. It is for the equalizing the pressure on the both the side. If pressure in middle ear is too much, it can be released in the nasopharynx, where it is going to open in the inferior meatus of nasal cavity. So it is a continuity. Okay, you can see here this is inferior concha, and here it is inferior meatus from where it is going to get open, the Eustachian tube. You can see entrance to the auditory tube is here. And this is the comparison between the infant and adult one. The blood supply is also important here. The blood supply of pharyngotympanic tube is from several sources. The branches arises from ascending pharyngeal artery, which is a branch of external carotid artery, and the two branches of maxillary artery, that is medial meningeal artery and artery to the pterygoid canal. So all over there are three basic branches which are going to supply the pharyngotympanic tube. One branch is from external carotid artery and two are from maxillary artery. Venous drainage of the pharyngotympanic tube is to the pterygoid plexus of veins in the inferior temporal fossa. So remember here the ascending pharyngeal artery is more important, which is supplying the pharyngotympanic tube or Eustachian tube. Nerve supply here of Eustachian tube of mucous membrane lining the pharyngeal tube is primary from the tympanic plexus only, as we have seen, which is present in the medial wall of the middle ear, because it is continuous with the mucous membrane lining the tympanic cavity. The internal substance of tympanic membrane, mastoid antrum and mastoid cells, all are going to have the nerve supply from same tympanic plexus only, which itself receives the major branch from glossopharyngeal nerve. We have already talked about it. Next, the important topic comes auditory ossicles, which is a good topic for auditory ossicles. So these are the small bones consisting of malleus, incus, and stapes. They form an osseous chain across the middle ear from tympanic membrane to the oval window of internal ear. There are some muscles also associated with it for the control of the transmission speed of vibrations. You can see here the three bones, malleus, incus, and stapes. One in the just diagrammatic representation, other from the skull region, highly magnified. Okay, because these are the smallest one. The malleus is the largest of the ear ossicles and is attached to the tympanic membrane. Identifiable parts include head of malleus, neck, anterior and lateral processes, and handle of malleus. The head of malleus is rounded upper part of malleus in the epitympanic region. It is above to the tympanic membrane. Its posterior surface articulates with the incus, the second bone. Inferior to the head of malleus is the constricted neck, and below this there are two processes, anterior and lateral process. The anterior process is attached to the anterior wall of middle ear by a ligament. The lateral process is attached to the anterior and posterior malleolar folds of tympanic membrane, which we have seen already in our previous lectures. The downward extension of malleus below to the anterior and lateral process is called handle of malleolus, which is directly attached with the tympanic membrane. So here you can see the parts. This is the posterior view because we want to see the articular facet. So this is the head region with articular facet for the incus. And here you can see the neck region, then lateral process, anterior process. It is not shown here because we are seeing the posterior view again. I'm telling you, this is handle of the malleolus, which is directly attached with the tympanic membrane below and tensor tympani part above. And here, this is the same diagram previously we have seen how the whole of the handle of malleolus is directly attached on the tensor tympani to the level of umbo. Next bone is the incus. Incus is the second bone in the series. Consists of body of incus and long and short limbs. The enlarged part of incus articulate with the head of malleus, and again it is in the epitympanic region, that is above to the level of tympanic membrane. The long limb extend downward from the body, parallel to the handle of malleolus, and ends by the bending medially to the articulate with the stapes. The short limb extends posteriorly and is attached to the ligament to the upper posterior wall of middle ear. So this is about the incus, the head region, the articulation with malleus, the long process, the short process, and the lenticular process is also present. This is the second in the series of bones. Last one, the smallest one is the stapes. The stapes is the most medial because it is directly attached on the medial wall of middle ear in the osseous chain and attached to the oval window. It consists of head of stapes, anterior and posterior limbs, and the base of stapes. The head of stapes is directed laterally and articulates with the long head of incus. We have talked about it. The two limbs separate from each other and attached to the oval base. Its base of stapes fits to the oval window on the labyrinth wall of the middle ear. Labyrinth wall means middle wall. Here you can see a single stapes muscle, head, neck, and the crus or limbs part, and this is the base, and it is how it is going to be attached to the oval window. So this is highly magnified image of the attachments of the all three auditory ossicles or ear ossicles in a sequence. Now we'll talk about the some muscles which are associated with these ossicles. You should be considering that as the bones very small, the muscles will be also small. There are two muscles, tensor tympani and stapes. The tensor tympani muscle lies in a bony canal above to the pharyngotympanic tube. It originates from the cartilaginous part of the pharyngotympanic tube, the greater wing of sphenoid, and its own bony canal, and passes through its canal in a posterior direction, ending in a rounded tendon that inserts into the upper part of handle of malleus. So simply you can remember it, the extent of this particular muscle will be from the pharyngotympanic tube to the handle of malleolus directly. The nerve supply will be mandibular nerve, part 3. The constriction of this tensor tympani is very important because when it is going to be contracted, it pulls the handle of malleolus medial side. This tenses the tympanic membrane, reducing the force of vibration in response to loud sounds or noises. So this helps us to bring down the amplitude of sound if we are hearing the very loud sound. So this is going to act like this, that on contraction, the tympanic membrane is going to become tense and the vibration will be reduced. So here you can see this is the tensor tympani muscle. One side is attached to the handle of malleolus and other side it will be attached to the pharyngotympanic tube, and this is the extent of the tensor tympani. Here only you can see the second muscle also, which we are going to learn right now. This will be the stapes muscle. This will be a small one. One side there will be towards the limb and other side will be towards the medial wall. The stapes muscle is very small muscle that originates from the inside the pyramidal eminence, which is small projection on the mastoid wall of the middle ear. Its tendon emerges from the apex of the pyramidal eminence and passes in the forward direction to get attached to the posterior surface of the neck of stapes. Remember, posterior surface of the neck of stapes. Stapes is innervated by facial nerve. Here, if contraction are going to produce, again in the response of loud noises, push the stapes posterior and prevent the excessive oscillation. So both are doing same function, tensor tympani and stapes, but mode of operandus is little bit different. So this part you have to remember carefully. Now the blood supply of whole middle ear, if we are talking in a group, so it has basically two large supplies. Two large supplies are tympanic branch of maxillary artery and mastoid branch of occipital or posterior auricular artery. Tympanic branch of maxillary artery and mastoid branch of occipital arteries, you can remember. There are certain small branches also, like middle meningeal artery, ascending pharyngeal artery, artery to the pterygoid canal, tympanic branches for internal carotid artery. Venous drainage of middle ear returns to the pterygoid plexus of veins and superior petrosal sinus. So remember two parts, tympanic branch of maxillary artery and mastoid branch of occipital, along with other minor branches which are going to supply the whole of middle ear. So this diagram you can try to understand that from facial artery there will be one big branch will be there, external carotid. From external carotid there will be certain other branches, maxillary artery and middle meningeal artery, maxillary artery, and they are going to supply to the different regions of middle ear. Nerve supply, as we have already seen, there was a tympanic plexus which is innervating the mucous membrane lining of the walls and contents of middle ear, which includes the mastoid area and pharyngotympanic tube as well. Tympanic nerve, which was a branch of glossopharyngeal nerve, that is cranial nerve number 9, and there are some branches from the internal carotid plexus also. As the glossopharyngeal nerve exists through the skull through the jugular foramen, it gives off tympanic nerve. This nerve re-enters in the skull through a small foramen and passes through the bone to the middle ear. Now it is going to form the tympanic plexus along with the other branches of the internal carotid nerves. The tympanic plexus also gives off a major branch, that is lesser petrosal nerve, which supplies to the preganglionic parasympathetic fibers to the otic ganglion. Remember the term lesser petrosal nerve. So these are some nerves which are directly related with the middle ear. So first of all, branch of glossopharyngeal nerve, that is cranial nerve number 9, supplies the tonsil and pharynx, posterior tongue, middle ear, you can see here, medial surface of tympanic membrane and mastoid air cell. So whatever is related to middle ear, you can underline it or mark it. Nerve of vagus nerve, it supplies mainly the pharynx and larynx, lateral surface of tympanic membrane. Here this is important, lateral surface of tympanic membrane and external acoustic meatus and concha. Auriculotemporal nerve, which is the part of trigeminal nerve, it supplies the lateral surface of tympanic membrane, external acoustic meatus, temporal skull, periauricular area and tragus, and temporomandibular joint. Then there is nervus intermedius, that is nerve number 7, also known as facial nerve. It supplies the lateral surface of tympanic membrane, external acoustic meatus, and concha. Then lesser occipital nerve basically supplies the posterolateral skull part, superior pinna, and supraauricular scalp. Greater auricular nerve, it supplies or innervates the angle of jaw, majority of pinna, lateral neck, and skin over parotid gland and mastoid process. So whatever is related with ear, especially external ear and middle ear, you can mark it and try to learn it. And this is a very nice way to learn the innervations of the ear. So that's for today. Next part, we are going to continue with the internal ear. Thank you.